start with a mention of the hurricane that is hitting the Louisiana coast, and unfortunately, all hurricanes are dangerous. All hurricanes have the ability or the potential to affect lives and property. But when one refuses to cooperate and just sits over an area and continues to batter it with wind and rain, even a relatively weak hurricane can cause just devastating damage. And we will pray for our sister state and for the residents of the coastal areas in Louisiana, and hope that they weather this storm better than the previous storm that hit on this state, which was Katrina. I want to then go to another difficult topic. I'm standing here today and I'm pleased to be joined actually by a former council member who I'm sure remembers what it was like to be in this chamber on Wednesday, Sheriff Adrian Garcia. Pleased to be also joined by Representative Senator Cornyn. I know that this is an issue of great interest to him. September is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. We are a wonderful, diverse international city. We are also a city with a problem with human trafficking. We want to take this opportunity of Human Trafficking Awareness Month to focus the attention of Houstonians on the problem, on what they can do about the problem, and to set in motion an opportunity to talk about solutions for the future. There's going to be a series of events throughout the month raising the awareness of human trafficking. There are film screenings, there's runs and walks, there are interfaith group dialogues, there's a fair trade shopping event. You can go to houstonrr.org to get more information about that. But it's not just about raising awareness. What do you do about it? Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. There's no nice way to put it. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. From 2007 through 2011, 554 human trafficking investigations led to 132 arrests, and 369 juvenile victims of human trafficking were identified. Human trafficking is something that impacts adults of both sexes, and it impacts juveniles, both American-born and foreign-born. There have been successes, but we need to work on long-term strategies. I'm creating a human trafficking committee to help advise me and the city. This group will work with Houston Police Department, the sheriff, and the community to develop a community-driven education and awareness campaign, and to see what we are missing in this equation. Standing with me today and members of the committee are Maria Trujillo, who will be the chair. She's the executive director of the Human Rescue and Restore Coalition. Sheriff Adrian Garcia, Harris County. Wafa Al-Amin, Vice President for Immigration Legal Services at Catholic Charities Cabrini Center for Immigrant Legal Assistance. Laura Boston Perez, Director at the Houston Interfaith Worker Justice, at Houston Interfaith Worker Justice. Russell Etherton, with Neighborhood Centers, Inc. Ed Gallagher, Deputy Criminal Chief for the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of Texas. Naomi Ji-Young Bang, with the law firm of Foster Kwan. Mandy Kimball, Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs for Children at Risk. Rafael Pantoja, Houston Police Department, and Jeff Watkins, the Executive Director of YMCA International Services. I'm going to ask first that Sheriff Garcia step forward and say a few words on this subject. Sheriff?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I want to, first of all, commend you and thank you for convening this distinguished group of good citizens and public servants. I want to thank Maria Trujillo for her leadership of this important endeavor, but also want to thank Senator Cornyn's office and the body of Jay Guerrero for his leadership and his commitment to this issue. This is as the mayor has put it, a very real issue. This is why the city and the county are collaborating on this issue. There is one of the first visits that I went on when I first became the sheriff of Harris County was to the department, the State Department, and to Ambassador DeBaca's office to talk about this very issue. And I know that Councilmember Christie also shares concerns in this regard. But it is important to recognize that modern day slavery has many different connotations. We typically think of human trafficking as being part of the sex industry, which it is. But it also is hidden in other forms. Home care, entertainment industry, and in other ways. And so our hope with the leadership of Mr. Trujillo and this group, along with the Houston Police Department, is to raise the awareness in the community to look at things differently. This is why I have worked to train my entire department on this issue, whether detention officers, whether deputies. Every single member of the organization will be trained on understanding and being able to identify this issue. Thus far, we're over 50% of the organization, and that started with a conversation with Ms. Trujillo, Mayor Parker, in that this was something that we needed to really put some real meat and potatoes on the table to address this issue. Lastly, let me just close by saying that as the keeper of the county jail, every day I have in my custody over an average of 9,000 people that know a little bit about a little bit that's going on in the community. This is why we are working very closely with Houston Crime Stoppers to cultivate intelligence, to find victims, to find participants in this industry, and as well as other organized crime, so that we can penetrate those operations at their most basic level, but also work with our federal partners like the U.S. Attorney's Office to make sure that the long arm of the United States law reaches any part in the U.S. territory that someone may be contributing to human trafficking in our area, but also may reach out into foreign territory where some of these issues begin. But the mayor has said it right. It is international, but folks, it's also domestic. We cannot hide from that reality. We are, today I think Mayor Parker has set the tone that we have to be strong enough locally to recognize that this is an issue for our community. And we're asking folks to please step forward with any information that you may have that will help us find those individuals, arrest them, put them behind either federal bars or county bars. We don't have any preference. We'll share either one of them with them. But the bottom line is that we're in a much better place. The United States Attorney's Office, along with our FBI Human Trafficking Task Force, are working with the victims. If you are a victim, then please step forward. There is help for you, both domestically as well as internationally. There is help for you. So please step forward. So Mayor, once again, I want to commend you and thank you for your leadership on this very important issue.
Now I want to recognize HPD Executive Assistant Chief Martha Montalvo to speak for the Houston Police Department. Being a gateway city is a wonderful thing, as I said. Being a gateway city means that we are a gateway for negative things as well, be that drugs or human trafficking.
Good morning. The Houston Police Department has always been very proactive in terms of human trafficking. We assist the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance of the Southern District of Texas This is a collaboration between local, state, and federal entities that identify, investigate, and prosecute human trafficking cases. We also have, 4 officers permanently assigned to the Houston Innocence Loss Task Force with the FBI, and what these individuals do is they identify, investigate, and prosecute organized child pornography and prostitution rings. We also understand that education is an essential portion of understanding this crime, and so we have mandated 8-hour training for all of our classified officers in human trafficking. And the goal is to have these officers be able to identify a crime of human trafficking, identify a witness, a victim versus a perpetrator, and to be able to manage these victims, these witnesses, as well as to understand what evidence is needed in prosecuting these cases. What we want the officers to understand is that these individuals are victims, that they deserve justice, and that they deserve the protection of the law. So the Houston Police Department looks forward to participating in the mayor's committee in order to eradicate this crime. And we understand fully that this is not just a law enforcement problem, it is also a community problem. Thank you.
Which is why we move next to the community. Law enforcement depends on information, insight. They depend on tips from fellow criminals who want to turn that information against somebody. But we're going to depend, as we go forward and in this task force, on leadership in the community with particular knowledge and expertise about what the drivers are for human trafficking, what the barriers are to breaking these rings, and that's why I appreciate so much the volunteers who have come forward, and I would now like to recognize Maria Trujillo to speak a little bit about what she sees the work of the committee going forward.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. As someone who's been involved on this issue for many years, I've seen much successes achieved thus far, such as the several hundred men, women, and children, both from the U.S. and foreign-born, who have been rescued from this modern-day slavery in our very own city. These victims have been able to become survivors because of the amazing social service providers that we have here in this city, who provide assistance, support, and encouragement so they can overcome their experience and become active members of our society. I've also seen many traffickers who have been sentenced and put behind bars due to the hard work and dedication of our law enforcement personnel as well as our prosecutors. However, for all the successes that we have had, there's much more work to be done. We have only scratched the surface. I am deeply encouraged by the support we are receiving today from the mayor and the city of Houston, and I'm extremely honored to be named the chair of this newly formed Human Trafficking Committee. This committee is made up of a stellar group of passionate individuals who all have years of experience working on the issue of human trafficking. I am confident that together we will develop solid solutions to bring back to the mayor and make significant strides to abolishing slavery here in Houston. One of the first steps in this fight is to increase the awareness and understanding of this crime to every Houstonian, which is part of why we are here today, to declare September Human Trafficking Awareness Month. But the people of the city need to be aware of this crime all year round, not just in September. As such, one of the first priorities of this committee is to develop a comprehensive public awareness campaign. In order to truly abolish slavery, we first need an aware, educated, and vigilant community who knows what to look for and how to report this crime to authorities, because it really depends on all of us to identify these victims and bring the criminals to justice. So I'm excited to be a part of this committee and really look forward to all the wonderful work that we're doing, and really thank the support of the mayor and the city of Houston. Thank you.
I mentioned our agency partners earlier. I want to also acknowledge the presence of of Terrence O'Rourke from the Harris County Attorney's Office.
And Mayor, I just want to say one thing. We have great news. Kim Ogg's coming to work for us on some of this human trafficking case, and her reputation precedes her.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Glad to help.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to offer the proclamation designating Human Trafficking Awareness Month to Ms. Trujillo, but most importantly, I want to thank those who have stepped forward to be volunteers in this effort. And we generally do proclamations for positive things. The creation of this commission is a positive thing, but we're dealing with a very, very serious issue. And again, thank you for stepping up on this.
Thank you, Mayor Parker.
And are there questions on this issue?
Mayor, there's been talk about how the arresting of prostitutes seems to be a waste of human resources for our law enforcement, and just putting them in jail for $20,000 that costs you incarcerated. Is there any effort that you're going to make? Because John Pointer mentioned it the last time he was here in Houston, that they want to put these young ladies in rehab programs and get them back into the regular workforce of society. And I've also noticed that you don't have not one black woman on your team, and the majority of these prostitutes that get arrested on a regular basis are black people from all over the city of Houston. Do you have any comment on that?
Two separate issues, human trafficking and prostitution. There's an overlap, but they're not directly the same issue. As to whether it is cost effective to keep arresting prostitutes, I agree with you. I think we need to find other ways to do diversions. I have met and discussed extensively with folks who are in the business of trying to provide prostitutes with other options so they can get out of the cycle, and particularly Catherine Townsend and her been there, done that group. In fact, we communicated just this last week on this subject. We still have a responsibility to enforce the laws that are before us, and as it is appropriate, we will enforce the prostitution laws. But we are always looking for ways to stop a cycle of crime rather than simply going out and arresting people. Anyone on this particular issue of human trafficking?
I have a question. I'm not sure who to direct it to, but the State Department has identified Houston as a hub for human trafficking. They've said about 25% of all trafficked people in the country come through Houston at some point or another. With that kind of magnitude, you know, this has to go beyond law enforcement, as you've said. And so what are some ways that people in the community can be on the lookout? I mean, we've heard things like cantinas, massage parlors, things like that. You know, if I'm just driving around in my neighborhood, what can I be looking for?
I'm going to ask Ms. Trujillo to step up, but on a personal level, we have spoken in the senior staff level about, you mentioned massage parlors. I actually had a massage. I had a gift certificate recently, and walked in and was given a form to fill out. And the first thing on the form, you know, if there are any comments of a sexual nature, you will be escorted out of the place. There are ways to know whether you're in a legitimate business or not. Some of this is the sex trade. Some of this is domestic labor, and the nannies. Do they have freedom of movement? You're a neighbor. You see somebody at the park. Do they have freedom of movement? Are they allowed to interact with other people? Do they appear to be mistreated in some way?